So Scream 7 is approaching our theaters this coming Friday. So I figured I'd go ahead and take in the chance to go ahead and explore each every individual Scream movie that we have encountered within these last 30 years. Can you believe it? 30 years, and we are already getting a seventh Scream movie. We've come so long with so many movies, and yet now here we are approaching the seventh film. So before we go ahead and talk about each and every single individual Scream film, while I rank them from the least favorite to the best favorite, because they're all great. I really do admire every single one of them. I think that they're very entertaining. The horror is within them. Especially when I first started seeing the Scream movies back in the actually early 2000s. I didn't get to see it back in 96 with the original trilogy up to 2000. But it was great when having to watching them for the first time because I do remember those moments. So before we go ahead and talk about it, I wanted to explore with you guys my Scream collection. The Scream collection that I have here is, it's nothing out of the ordinary. I have had them individually before, but then I got rid of them, and then I started fresh again, getting another collection. So, yes, I encountered this one here, which was sometime before the fifth Scream movie, which is I have the DVD collector's version of Scream 1, 2, 3, and 4. It has all four films, obviously, as you can tell. So it's a great collection. I hope to one of these days probably get a collection of all seven movies in one box because I have an enormous amount of movies. So there's not enough room for each individual box. So I try to stay in the habit of collecting the entire franchise into one set. And of course, after Scream 4, we did have, of course, Scream 5, which is also known as just Scream, the fifth movie within the franchise on DVD. And then also I have the Scream 6 movie on DVD, so this is pretty awesome. Just having to know that I have all six movies and therefore getting the seventh film once it releases on physical media. I do watch a lot more of streamings than I do physical media, but I still keep them as a good collection base. Speaking of collection base, not only do I have them on DVD, I do avoid Blu-rays, but I do, however, love to collect VHSs. Now, there was only 3 of the Scream movies that were released on VHS, and I happen to have all 3 of them. I got them on eBay. They weren't cheap. Well, actually, these two were given to me by a local friend. This one was off of eBay. This one's actually very expensive since it's, a classic. They're all classics, but, it's great just having all 3. It would have been so great if I would have had the other 3 on VHS too, if there ever were. And of course, obviously there weren't, since VHS is concluded back in 2005. So now that I went ahead and shared my Scream collection, I want to go ahead and start my ranking with number 6, which happens to be Scream 4. That's the least of my favorites. It's still a great Scream movie, and I still enjoy watching it. I don't hate it at all whatsoever, but I found that Scream 4 out of the bunch is my least favorite part, my least favorite chapter within the franchise. I just don't find it as strong as all the others. And also, I want to go ahead and bring out to the fact that my rankings are not set in stone. It does not mean that because my rankings are the way they are, it's not going to match up with everyone else's. Everyone has their own different opinion as to how they see the film, as to what their experiences were to them. So Scream 4, I think I would find myself putting it at number 6 at the bottom. Where Scream 7 is going to be at, I have no idea. We'll find out a week from today. But as of now, Scream 4 is at my number 6. At number 5, we're going to go ahead and go with Scream 2. I watched all these movies before I recently clicked on the recording button to talk to you guys about this. And I found that Scream 2 was the less interesting of the original trilogy for me. I still enjoyed it. And I remember when I was watching the original trilogy while I was watching them for the first time, I didn't find Scream 2 just as horrifying as I found the other two films. So, which is why I found it as the very least of its trilogy to put it at the close to the end of the list. So yeah, number 5 is Scream 2. At number 4 is going to be the very recent Scream 6. Um, yeah, I really did love Melissa Barrera and I did love Jenna Ortega in the film. And having to knowing that that torch was passed over to them to continue their story right after the events of Scream 5. I think that Scream is just not Scream without Sidney Prescott. And you don't really get a lot of legacy characters other than the Kirby character from the fourth film, and then of course you get Courtney Cox coming back. They continuously tease her death. I love the relocations of it being put in New York. I love it being set within the time frame of Halloween season. So but the thing about Scream 6 that I didn't like about it is the fact that there was just too many killers. I mean, when you get one killer, you got actually two killers, and then not only two, you get actually three killers. And I'm just like, I remember my reaction to that reveal. I was like, I don't like that. I really don't. And for excuses, I will go ahead and explain later on in the video. Um, but yeah, I just didn't like that reveal. It really disappointed me. I just think that that's a little too much. I feel like a ghost-faced killer would be more um prepared and very organized and very clever, smart into doing the things that he does to killing all of his victims. So, but yeah, I find it at that spot. And within that time, number 3, we're going with Scream 5, also entitled as just Scream, or Five Cream if you want to call it that. Scream 5 would be at my number 3 because I think that it's a really great new chapter of a supposedly trilogy at the time, bringing back our legacy characters. Of course, we were within a time of legacy characters returning, being introduced to a new set of new characters, modern day people passing the torch over to the new teams, and I didn't really like. I remember I didn't like the reveal of the killers in this one either. I didn't really come to an. I think maybe it's because I got so used to the idea that the killers' motives are very well connected to the final girl of the movie, and it didn't do that. It was, and I understood what their reasons were, but the way I felt when I saw it in the theaters, now I feel more accepted towards it. But with the way I felt in the theaters, I just was really bummed out. I really wish that they would have put more lore into that to be well more connected to the lead actresses. But unfortunately, it did not really suit for me. It wasn't really that acceptable. But this is where things are going to start getting a little bit more uh, questioning to the ones that actually are Scream fans. I love Scream. It's actually one of my favorite horror franchises within the genre of horror. But yes, there's only 2 movies left, and people would assume that this one would be number 1, but unfortunately, it's at number 2. The first Scream movie, 1996. Now, I will talk about why it is by talking about number 1. But yes, Scream 1 is at my number 2 because I saw this one. This would be my second Scream movie that I've seen uh, after watching the first Scream movie that I had watched for the first time ever. But yeah, Scream 1, I find it very creative. I find it very horrifying. Yes, it did chill me to my toes. I remember buying the DVD at my local Walmart when I was a teenager, watching it for the first time. It was great. I think that it is a very clever film. I love on how everything was well put together and really based off of other horror films being put into the. It's not like a parody like Scary Movie, but it was really great, and I understood their motives, and I love and how the story is very deep and how it's well connected to all the characters. Uh, so I thought that Scream One would be at my perfect number two. So now here we are at number one is Scream 3. I will let you guys know this. This is actually the least favorite of everybody else's. I understand that, but I'll explain this to you why I admire Scream 3 very much. I'm a fan of trilogies. I'm a fan of trilogies, but my most personal favorite is always the final chapter. The final chapter really does come, it closes the book on this story that was divided between three individual films. But the thing is that I was not introduced to Scream through Scream 1, nor Scream 2, but Scream 3. I knew of Scream. I was terrified of watching it because they really marketed it, the franchise, as, very horrifying. And of course, me being a kid, I was scared to my bones. So, but I remember we had a neighbor. He had the VHS copy of Scream 3, which is not this one exactly, but he loaned us the video. It was from Hollywood Video. I think it says Hollywood Video. Yeah, it's from Hollywood Video. I got it it was from Hollywood Video. He loans it to us, me and my brother, and I watched it for the first time. I remember popping it into my VCR, and I watched the movie. Even though I didn't know what I was watching exactly, but I enjoyed it very much. It was my introduction to Scream, and I loved every little bit of that film. And I love all the other movies, like I said, don't get me wrong, but this is my ranking as to where I feel that of how each and every single one of these films are placed in my ranking. I love I love this closing chapter. This is my favorite killer. Okay, my favorite killer, who was revealed to being, no spoiler here, it's already been out already, 25, 26 years now, so, but yeah, it's, what's his name, Roman, the director of the Stab 3 movie, and I love it because he really does explain more depth to the reasonings why, Billy Loomis and Stu Macher, I think his name is, from the killers from the first movie, there's more depth to that story that they were explaining in the first film, that, he is the reason why all of this has happened. And because he even says it in the movie, he's a director, he directs. So, and since this franchise is based off of horror films, I love the idea on how our main killer was the puppet master of this whole thing. So I enjoyed it very much. And I love, like I said earlier, since Scream 6 had 3 killers, I'm just like, you're going a little too far. And of course, all the other Scream movies had 2 killers. But I give credits to this one being the only one killer. Now I know there was a lot of rewrites. This movie was a mess when it was in production, being put together. There was a lot of rewrites, a lot of changes happening. There was supposed to be another killer involved. There's supposed to be 2 killers, which was that other girl. I forgot her name, but yeah. But yeah, it was supposed to be Roman and this other girl. But they cut her out, and they only gave it to this one individual killer, and I give credits for that, and I loved it very much, and I wish that they would go down that direction. So that would be my rankings for the entire Scream movies. What are your rankings? Let me know down in the comment section at the bottom. Let's have an awesome time talking about these movies, or any movies that you like to talk about in general, because I love to talk about movies, but most importantly, I love to talk about them with you. And don't forget that you can check out some more of my videos on YouTube. Just look me up at Awesome Joe Movie Reviews. Don't forget to click on that like and subscribe button there, you guys. I really do appreciate everybody's day into doing that. If you want to see more of my videos, to be notified by them, just click on that notification bell and you will know ahead of time as to when those will pop up. But also, you guys, I would just love to mention as well that what are your expectations to Scream 7 coming out in a week from now? This is what I'm really hoping from a Scream movie, because they always go with the same formula in each film. Is you got the killer, you got the list of characters that are going to be killed off, the killer is revealed at the end, and you have this final confrontation between hero and villain, and the killer dies, and boom, done. That's every single Scream movie. That's the formula. This one, I really do hope it's a little different. I'm kind of hoping that it would have a cliffhanger, you know, because there are talks of a Scream 8. Nothing is confirmed just yet, but I have high expectations. I shouldn't have high expectations. If it doesn't happen in the way that I really wish it would, I won't be disappointed. It won't hold me against my review towards Scream 7. But I'm really hoping that this one would really end on a cliffhanger to where the killer will not be revealed. It will end in some different form of fashion that will give us a final confrontation with the killer, Ghostface, but yet there's no reveal. The killer, gets away and, disappears, and we don't get to see him again until the next movie. You know what I mean? It's like, let's stretch it out a bit. Let's have a story being told in a sense of their having it stretched out to where you do have an actual story to tell that can keep you excited and going for another film. Would it be cash grab? Practically, but every time when a Scream movie ends, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, well, there you go, there's another one in the can. Let's, now we got to wait several years for another one to pop up. Do I expect a death from any legacy characters? I hear that a lot of people are picking on Neve Campbell, that she might be getting killed off at the end of this, and the torch will be passed over to her daughter Tatum. Most likely it may seem, but I highly doubt it. If I want anybody to be killed off from a legacy character, would be Gale Weathers. I really wish. My expectation, not wish. My expectation was that her character would have gotten killed off on Scream 6, but that didn't happen. So I'm expecting for at least Gale Weathers to get killed off, and if there's gonna be an 8th Scream movie, then I would say Sidney would get killed off in that one. But this one, I think, I highly doubt it. So those are my expectations as well. You heard my rankings. You saw my Scream collection. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section at the bottom. And we'll jump on to Scream 7 a week from now and talk about that movie once it releases. I'm very excited. I can't wait. I know that you guys are excited too if you're watching this video. And we'll see what happens. So, I'm Awesome Joe, everybody. Keep on living the dream. And as always, stay awesome. Thanks you guys once more again, and I'll see everybody in the next video. Bye.